On today's podcast, we have the amazing, the wonderful, the motivational, the positive Mike Jones from Discover Leadership Training. I know I got him to come on. You are welcome. If you know Mike, you are stoked and you are buckling in and getting out your notepad and pen. If you don't know Mike, well, shit, buckle in, get out your notepad and pen. That's all I'm going to say. It's so good. Get ready to have your mindset shifted.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hello and welcome back to the Body Bangin' podcast. If this is your first time with us, you picked an amazing episode to join into. First and foremost, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel so you get alerted every time a new podcast drops, which is every 2 weeks. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you want to make sure you're following so you also get alerted. And we're going to kick it off and get right into it. So we have Mike Jones on today of Discover Leadership Training. Hello, Mike Jones.
Hey, Nikki, how you doing?
Great. So I didn't get to see you. I missed it when it was the Positivity Summit recently. I heard you were on and you blew everybody away and people were wanting to run through walls.
It was smoking hot. It really was. They did a good job. So.
Yeah. Well, I heard you did a great job, as usual, I'm sure. Yeah. So if you all don't know Mike Jones, well, welcome from under your rock. But Mike Jones has been, how long have you been working with collision shops at this point?
About 22 years.
Wow. Long time.
Yeah.
So are you doing a lot of traveling? Because when I met you, gosh, like 10 plus years ago, it was at a conference that you were speaking at. Are you still doing speaking engagements?
Yes. You know, okay. COVID pretty much shut that down for about a good 2 years.
Right.
And it's starting to pick up again. So I'd say we're probably at about 35% of what we were doing prior to COVID as it relates to travel.
Okay. Nice. And then you have your campus. What do you call it there?
Yeah, so Discover Leadership Training has a couple of programs, one of which our marquee program is a 4-day retreat that's fully immersive master graduate leadership program that folks come and they stick around with us for about 4 days, just focusing on working on themselves, creating a better version of themselves.
Right. And then that's the 4-day training in Houston.
Yeah.
Is that on your property where you live?
Yeah, no, I actually live in a city. I am not a country boy by any stretch of the imagination. Our training facility now is one that's called Camp Allen. The one that we owned several years ago. Due to COVID, we actually had to sell it. So we have a brand new training facility that is phenomenal.
Awesome. Okay, so you were saying there were 2 programs. So there's the 4-day, and then what's the other one?
Yeah, the other one is one we call the Game Changer program. It's more cerebral. It's one that we come to you. It's more classroom style. We do a lot of intact teams where we will go to a city and a shop or two will have their entire team participate in it. And it's more of a 2-day program, still very experiential. So it's not lecture-based. They're going to get their hands dirty.
Right.
And this one is a little bit more heady, a little bit more cerebral than the master graduate program.
Okay. And I know a lot of people that have been to both. And even the 2-day program, although you're saying it's heady, it's also life-changing for a lot of people.
It is. You know, Mickey, what I have found in the many years that I've been doing is if somebody has never done anything around personal growth and personal development, they've never wiped the smoke off the mirror and taken a look at themselves as it relates to how they can get better.
Right.
The 2-day program is almost as impactful for them as a 4-day program is for somebody who has done a lot of work.
Right.
It depends on where they are in their own journey as it relates to which one of those are the most impactful for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when I was talking with Mike, it's funny, I'll tell a quick story. So Mike didn't remember meeting me for the first time. I met Mike at a conference in Texas, and it was back when I worked at Valley Motor Center. The owner, who has since passed, was at this conference, and Mike was challenging the group. It was the Coyote Vision group, challenging the group with mindset type stuff, which we know Mike is notorious for. And I think Marsh, who was the owner, Marsh Gluco was the owner, and he wasn't buying it. He wasn't buying what you were selling, Mike. He was pushing back. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, this guy is not getting on board. And it was so funny to see how he was completely non-acceptant or even open to most everything that you were presenting. And the rest of us were riveted by it. Interesting. Do you find that happens a lot?
I mean, it's going to happen with this podcast as well, Nikki. That's going to be some folks that are going to listen to it, and they're going to be kind of going like, yeah, I don't know about that. But see, there's a difference between being a veteran and being a rookie. So veterans listen with the intent to defend what they already know. Rookies are people who listen with the intent to be influenced.
Right.
So a veteran is going to be somebody who has a fixed mindset. We want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And rookie is somebody who has a growth mindset. So they produce completely different results in their lives, as well as their businesses and their professional lives. One of them, you can predict how stuff's going to turn out for them. The other one, they get surprised again every now and then. It's on the fact that they're out there doing new things.
Right. Yeah. And it was so funny because you even challenged him to come out to the ranch. You said, come, I challenge you, come and do this. And he unexpectedly passed away, and he was going to do it. We were like, yeah, go. He wanted to prove you wrong.
Yes. I love that. I love that about people with fixed mindsets. A lot of them show up periodically, and their intent, as I like to refer to them as hostages, they show up just to prove that there is nothing there for them to learn. I have never seen one, Nikki, that has shown up who didn't leave there blown away by the experience, because they really don't know what they don't know until they know that they don't know.
Right.
I mean, they know what they know, and they keep operating on that, and they've had some wins doing it that way, and that's good. However, when we get in a fixed mindset, we've also fixed our limitations as it relates to how much risk we're going to take to get to a next level. And unfortunately, many of them never get to a next level.
Right. So you're talking about fixed versus growth mindset. And when you and I spoke, you're like, that's what it's all about.
It's all about that, Mickey. Absolutely all about. So first of all, let me give credit where credit is due. That was a professor who's also a researcher by the name of Carol Dweck. Now, Carol actually coined the terms fixed mindset and growth mindset. In a lot of the work that we've done over the last 30 years, we've addressed this, but we never really distinguished it as the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset. We've talked about people being in their comfort zones and not growing because they pretty much got into habits that produce the same results over and over again. But it's the same thing. But I love the way she approached it because even the most laymanistic of mindsets can really get their arms around this, because there's so much beautiful science to it that allows us to be able to look in the mirror and kind of go like, I cannot deny that that's the truth.
Right.
And that's what I love about it, is that it presents itself in such a way that it takes away all of the excuses as it relates to how I'm being with Mickey or other people in my life. And it takes away this notion that this is just who I am, because that is not the truth. It is who you are choosing to be.
Right.
So rather than giving yourself an excuse for bad behavior, it's really owning the fact that I can do this differently if I chose to. It depends on what my focus and my commitment and my mindset is to that moment and to that person in that situation.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in all of that. I'm a huge mindset person. I read all the books. I love Joe Dispenza. The first time I heard him, he just really opened my mind to so many things. And I remember being challenged by you. And at the time, I had really done no personal work myself. And it's incredible that once you start peeling back the layers of I don't know what I don't know, you realize there's a lot I don't know.
Right.
I don't think that ever ends.
Right. And you'll probably hear me say this 100 times during our podcast. If you want the things that you're looking at to change, you got to change the way you're looking at it. There are so many different perspectives to look at the exact same thing that when we get stuck in a fixed way of looking for it, we can predict how that's going to turn out every time.
Right.
And I want to talk about this a little bit here in a moment. The reason why we have conflict in our relationships, especially our most significant relationships, is because we're in a fixed mindset based on what we believe the truth is. So we're now defending our truth against their truth. And I like to call that right fighting, RIGHT, FIGHTING, right fighting. So I'm fighting to be right and you're fighting to be right. I'm defending my truth and you're defending your truth. And as a result of that, we got conflict in this relationship.
Right.
But if we both took a step back, Mickey, and we realized that there are very few facts in the world, but there's a tremendous amount of interpretations and perceptions. As long as I am treating my interpretation of the facts as if they are the facts, there's always going to be conflict in my relationship.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. And the point that I want to make, if anything else, I got at least 3 points I want to make. Here's the first one.
Okay.
It is not necessary to make you wrong for me to be right.
Yeah.
You have a right to your perceptions, and so do I. If we're going to be in a relationship where we're going to grow to synergistically become one, then we've got to identify what we are both committed to and work toward that together rather than defending the stuff that we learned growing up or that we've experienced in our lives, because that is not the be-all, do-all, experienced all. That's just our truth and our experience.
Right. Our perception, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. And how difficult is that when you add emotion?
Yes.
To, like logically, like, okay, Mike, that makes sense. And then you add the emotion and then that, that frontal lobe of the brain goes crazy and everything ignites and,
And Mickey, I would argue that the emotion only shows up because I'm defending my truth. If I am in a mindset where, and this is what I teach when I'm coaching folks, if I'm in a mindset that I'm always asking, if you and I are dealing with conflict, I'm asking myself the question, what am I committed to do to have this turn out the way that I want it to? If I'm waiting on Mickey to change, or I'm waiting on somebody else in my life to change, in order for this to improve for me, quite often those situations end up in a divorce. Right. Because you only have 100% here. You don't have control over anybody else outside of that.
Right.
So if I really want this to turn out a specific way, I've got to keep finding a way to change my approach to get to that result. And as long as I am changing my approach and I accept personal responsibility to have it turn out the way I want it to, game on. But as soon as I blame Mickey, game's over. Because I can't affect change in the context of that.
Right. So do you encourage then the personal accountability? Is that a big piece of this?
Okay, so we started with personal responsibility. And they're different, Mickey. A lot of times people think that personal accountability and personal responsibility are the same. But what I love to teach people is that if I am not accepting personal responsibility, but I'm holding you accountable, that's called blame.
True.
But if I'm accepting personal responsibility and I'm holding myself and you accountable, there's a chance for us to get to something brand new if we're both playing the same game.
Right. I like that. I feel like that can apply to every relationship, not just personal, but business and every level.
It is absolutely more. And when I'm talking about managing my business, because I don't have the same level of relationship with these people. But if I am the person in authority, I've got to understand that authority does not equal leadership.
Right.
In order for me to get them to a positive place and to create positive outcomes, I still got to be willing to occupy the space where I'm asking myself the question, if he or she is not delivering what I need from them, how can I say it differently? How can I show it to them differently?
Right.
And it is not in my fixed mindset that I have already determined that they should have got it by, I mean, because who knows?
Right.
Everybody's going to be different in the context of when they get it.
Yeah.
But if I'm committed to help them get it, then I take that away and I stay focused on continually changing my approach until I get them to the result that I want them to.
Right. Yeah, and that really makes so much sense because we oftentimes talk to people the way that we want to be communicated with.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
That's not always the way that they are going to process and hear and be able to do something with it.
Oh, that is so spot on. And one of the big deliverables from the Master Graduate Program is we teach people 4 different personality styles that exist with all human beings, and that everybody occupies one of those spaces as a primary place where they come from. So if I now can really become a student of that process and I learn how to meet and identify what your strength is and know how you will absolutely be best communicated with, then I'm going to be able to meet you where you are rather than require you to do it the way that I would do.
Right.
Because you may not be able to be as effective as you possibly can doing it the way that I would do.
Right. So part of your course is teaching what those 4 personalities are and then how to identify them.
Absolutely.
In people. Can you share with us what those 4 are?
Sure. So the instrument that we use is called DISC. And a lot of people in the industry are familiar with it. And if they want to get more familiar with it, I mean, we can do DISC profiles on their people. We help a lot of shops in their hiring process. We will take the people that they are interviewing and put them through the DISC profile and look at the job description that they have them focused on and let them know whether or not that would be a good fit or not a good fit.
Right.
And the shops that we've worked with, they rave about the benefit that they have gotten from that because turnover is such an expensive thing in a business that when you get it right more often the first time and you don't have to replace that person, it's really a money-saving adventure. But we use DISC, and so people can be identified as a D, a I, a S, or a C. These are those people, like your previous boss that I was challenging at the Coyote meeting. He's a D.
Okay.
So he's an individual who loves to be in control. They like to make and break the rules. They have a mindset, if it ain't broke, break it. They love challenges. I think that I used to say to people like your ex-boss that they had an anthem, and the anthem was, I did it my way. They're generally very fast-paced people and very task-oriented. And if there's a D in an environment, and I tell them generally that Ds make up about 10% of the world population, they look at somebody and say, see, I told you I was special. But the not so funny part about it, though, Nikki, is that 90% of the time, a D has to learn how to meet other people where they are, and they don't do that real well.
Right.
Because mentality, my way or the highway. So, and that's the D. So the second one is what we would like to refer to as the I. So the I stands for influencing.
Okay.
So you'd be an I. So I's are people who love people. They love to work with people. They generally bring the enthusiasm and the positive energy to an environment. They generally are very talkative. They're very fun-loving people. They like to work in groups and on teams. I's are those type of people who quite often get themselves in a little trouble because they rarely say no to anybody. They say yes all the time because they want everybody to like them. Eyes are those people that if there's a spotlight somewhere, Mickey, the eye's going to be under the spotlight. They love to be the life of the party. And eyes make up 15% of the world population.
Okay.
They're more people-oriented, and they're also fast-paced, like the D's.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that third group we like to refer to as the S. And the S stands for steady. So these are people who do not like a lot of change going on. They are individuals who like to follow the rules. They generally take better care of other people than they do themselves. They're always looking out for other people. They love to be in environments where there's a trusting relationship. There's a trusting relationship quite often that high S will shave their heads and go to battle for you because there's a trusting relationship, and they will go to work for you, they'll fight for you. But there's not a trusting environment. Quite often they will take long lunch breaks or they change jobs because they love to be in a more trusting relationship.
Yeah.
They make up 60% of the world population.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't care who you are, you likely have some S's around you in some capacity because they have a large portion of that population. And that last group we like to refer to as the C personality style. And the C stands for conscientious. These are those individuals that are very analytical, they're very factual driven.
Okay.
They like to weigh the pros and the cons. They're individuals who, if you really want to make them really happy, you need to give them some data that supports the data, that supports the data, that supports the data.
Yeah.
They're all about it, girlfriend. They want proven numbers, and they're generally perfectionistic in that they won't even show you their work until they feel like it's perfect.
Right.
So they sometimes have a hard time executing on something because they're always looking for ways to make it better before they absolutely allow you to see it or execute on it.
Right.
So that's the C, and they make up 15% of the world population.
Interesting. So I would assume then, knowing these things, I think from like a personal relationship standpoint, it'd be interesting which letters typically go. I mean, you've got 60% being, what is it, an S. So that's interesting because now are there certain personalities that don't typically in a relationship level get along with an S?
Yes. You know what's so beautiful about it? I'm so glad you asked that question. So think about it. Let's say the D is here, the I is right next to them. What they have in common is that they're both fast-paced.
Yes.
What they don't have in common is the D is task-oriented and the I is people-oriented. Okay, so right below the I is the S. What the I and the S have in common is their orientation. They're both people-oriented.
Okay.
So the S is slow-paced and people-oriented. Now, watch what I do here. The D is task-oriented and they're fast-paced. So in other words, they have nothing in common with each other in the context of this conversation. But I guarantee you, everyone that's listening to this, their significant other is at their diagonal. If they're a D, their significant other is an S. If they're an S, their significant other is a D. Because opposites attract and then they attack.
Yeah. How accurate. Yes. I love you so much because you're so different. You drive me crazy because I don't understand you.
And you know what's beautiful about it that I've noticed in the past years that I've been doing this, Mickey, is that D's really admire in S's what they're not.
Right.
S's are patient, they're caring, they're loving. D's are not any of that.
Right.
Now, when the S goes too far or overuses that in the eyes of the D, they then see their partner as being weak. So here you have an S. What they admire about a D is everything that they're not. They're direct, they're aggressive, they're fast-paced, they get it done, they take on challenges. But as soon as they overuse that, then the S's look at them and they say that they're assholes.
Yeah, right.
So it just depends on which one of the quadrants you're in. That other person is having a conversation about you when they feel that you have overstepped that strength, and the strength has now become a weakness to them.
So now when we're talking from a business perspective, when we're talking teams working together, I can see how this dynamic would be really important to have a good grasp on when bringing somebody on. If you have something that's very symbiotic and everybody's on the same page, working together towards a common goal, and you bring in, if you have a lot of D's and you bring in an S, thinking that they're not an S, and all of a sudden it upends the apple cart kind of thing, I can see why that would be so valuable for you to be able to diagnose that early before you get in and you start having some really big problems, some clashes.
Yeah. And Mika, the beautiful thing about the awareness is we teach this much different than the average person who's in this cognitive field. Quite often, we use DISC because some of the instruments teach this is who you are, so play to your strengths. When you do that, you're giving a person an excuse for bad behavior.
Right.
So if I am now a D that is being overly aggressive when I need to be more patient or sensitive, then somebody is going to be hurt by that. And if they call me on it or attempt to hold me accountable, then I can say, well, I'm just a D. What do you expect from me?
Right.
I mean, that's just who I am.
Right.
And it's not the truth. And we don't teach it that way. So we really help people understand themselves better so that they can understand others better, which allows them to build better relationships.
Right.
Which means that I can now not only meet you where you are, because it's all behavioral. And as a D, I may be very comfortable with being direct and aggressive, but I can absolutely choose to be patient and sensitive if the situation calls for it.
Right.
I can't be in a fixed mindset that just says that I'm just a D. So all you can expect from me is I'm going to be direct and aggressive. And no, I mean, that's when you overuse that strength, it is going to become a weakness.
Yeah.
Every situation is not going to call for you to be that person.
Right. Right. I'm going to interrupt this podcast for just one quick second because a lot of people wonder, Mickey, what is it that you even do besides host a podcast? Well, I do marketing, and really the biggest thing that I do is help you drive more traffic to your business. And not even just more traffic, but consistent traffic to your business. As a former shop owner, I know how important that is. So if that's something you're interested in, or you just want to talk about marketing or developing your business in general, feel free to reach out. You can visit collisioncentermarketing.com. There's a calendar on there, and you can just book a time that works for you, and we'll set up a phone call. Or you can email or call me, and my notes are down in the description of this episode. But I hope to hear from you. I'd love to help you build your business. But in the meantime, you better get back to this podcast because it's really good. Well, and I would think, you tell me, but there's probably, I feel like as you were describing those personally, okay, I feel like I can see myself in this, I can see myself in that. So maybe, is it the core of who that person is? And then we also have sprinklings of others? What does that look like?
Yeah, beautiful question. I mean, you're good at this, girl. So we are all a blend of all four of them.
Right. Okay.
The real awareness, when you really want to understand this, is that I got to be this way because these are the behaviors that I practice the most.
Gotcha.
So these are the ones that I'm the most comfortable with. So this is my comfort zone. So if you let me geek out for just 1 second, I'll throw those signs for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So from the point of cognition, about 4 to 6 months old, until you are 4 years old, over 45% of your belief system is in place. This is the result of all of the things that you other human beings, and they're teaching you these things repetitiously over and over and over again until you get it. When you got it, it has now moved into your subconscious as a habit. So now I can do those things unconsciously without any thought at all.
Right.
I can just perform that at the drop of a dime. I mean, I can just do it.
Right.
I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm 4 years old, now the lens that I'm viewing the world through has been created. By the time I'm 4 years old, 45% of it has.
Wow.
By the time I'm 4 years old, over 45% of the map that I am now going to navigate my life through has been created.
Wow.
By the time I'm 4 years old, Mickey, over 45% of my mindset has been fixed.
Wow.
So based upon all of the things that I've learned, by the time I'm 18 years old, over 99% of that map and that lens has been created based upon me repetitiously doing things over and over again, things that I have experienced in my life. And those things have now created my lens and my filter and my comfort zone, my fixed mindset. So if I stayed in that mindset at all times, or in whichever one of those quadrants at all times, it's predictable how I react to everything that occurs in my life.
Yeah. Right. I always call it the program. The program runs, right? Like
unconsciously, just constantly is going to, yeah.
Right. And when you start being aware that the programs are running, you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
That program just ran. I didn't have to think about it to click it on. It just went.
Yeah.
Wild. It's weird to think that at such a young age, we're developing this foundation for things that we deal with, in our 40s, 50s, 60s, like at four, this is where this comes from. Wild.
Right.
Wild.
Yeah. And the awareness that we offer in our processes in our training is that, you got a map, but your map's not the whole territory, girlfriend. It's just your map. And as long as you are managing these situations and these relationships based on your map, there are going to come times that that's not going to be the appropriate response to what is going on in that situation.
Right.
We use these things that are your strengths that have gotten you to some success is great, but they are not going to be the thing that's going to get you to every success that you're going to experience if you ever get to playing at a high level. You're going to have to get off of that map.
So the golden question is, how do you start? Because I'm sure it's not a light switch thing, right? Doing personal development myself, it is a process. So what does the beginning of that look like?
Okay, so you asked me that question. If you really want to know the answer, I'm going to give it to you. But if you don't really want to know the answer to that, we probably should move on to something. That once this has been uncovered, you can never say that you don't know ever again. So
right.
I mean, it's some smoking hot shit. It really is. But it will absolutely put you in the place. I didn't know that.
All right, give it to me.
You want me to go? Okay, here we go. Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to submit, first of all, and I know that everybody viewing this podcast will agree with me. It may be a little bitter pill to swallow, but nobody's going to disagree with this. Okay. I'm going to submit that one of the greatest gifts that every one of us has is the gift of choice.
Yes.
We can choose to believe anything that we want.
Yeah.
I mean, do you buy that?
100%.
Okay. So let me just keep going now. So no turning back now. No turning back.
I'm with you.
86,400 seconds in every day. In every one of those 86,400 seconds, both a fixed mindset exists and a growth mindset exists. Whichever one that you're choosing is the one that you've been choosing the most, so it is the most comfortable to you. So I got to go here now that we're out here. In 86,400 seconds of every day, both positive and negative exist. So there is no way that one of them can exist without the other because they're always a comparison to each other.
Okay.
In order for me to assess something as positive, I am comparing it to something that is negative. In order for me to assess something negative, I'm comparing it to something that is positive. So there is no neutral in the context of this conversation.
Okay.
Neutral is an illusion in the context of this conversation. So in this present moment, if I am in a fixed mindset, it's because I'm choosing to be. The fixed mindset is not choosing me.
Right.
So whatever's happened. Yeah, I didn't help create this. Mama and Pawpaw did, but they did 100% of what they knew how to do to help me survive in this dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah.
They were doing everything that they could to help me survive. Now that I am awakened to the fact that I have a choice, I can choose to keep being this person, or I can choose to be whichever one of those people is necessary in order for me to keep moving forward. Now, what I'm going to say to you is that it can be as simple as a light switch. So you got to walk with me now.
Okay.
So the only way for me to get to a point where it now works for me as a light switch, I've got to know where I'm going. So this is the meaty part. So y'all got to really dig in here, y'all. So if I know where I'm going, I know the choice that I'm about to make. If I don't know where I'm going, I'm just doing me. That's always done me. Then there is no real substance to the choices that I'm making. I'm just doing it.
Right.
So when I start being it, it's completely different. I'm now in a growth mindset when I'm being it, because I know where I'm going. How do I know where I'm going, Mickey? I have set a specific outcome. So if I use one that a lot of people can relate to, if I'm focused on getting healthier, then I know when I sit down at mealtime whether or not the choices that I've made are appropriate or inappropriate in the context of this conversation. It does not matter what I've eaten up until now. In this moment, I have a specific outcome that says I'm going to be healthier. I can look at that plate of food and I can know in that moment whether or not the choices that I made are appropriate or if they are inappropriate. So if I know my outcome and I know where I'm going, I have now contextualized good and bad, right or wrong, appropriate or inappropriate, because the outcome is absolutely going to help me to be able to determine in that moment whether or not I'm on track or I'm off track.
Your compass.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotcha. I'm with it.
So beautiful thing, with the people that are watching this, if I'm focused on you and I, Mickey, having a more positive relationship, first of all, we have got to be aware that because you and I are focused on a more positive relationship does not indicate that the relationship that we had before this moment was a negative relationship. What we now got to come to understand is that we all occupy the largest room in the house, which is a room for improvement. So however positive I am, if I stop comparing myself to somebody else, then I recognize now that there is still some room for me to grow in my positivity. So I'm no longer looking at you kind of going like, well, she's negative, which makes me positive. You're no longer my comparison. My comparison is me and working from the inside out to create more positivity because I know that that's available to me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel like you should listen to this and rewind it. Rewind and listen again, because I feel like there was so much in that small little piece of a few minutes right there. So powerful.
It's such a big difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. I mean, sometimes we can sit down and listen to the news. I mean, this one always gets me. And the weatherman comes on and says, well, there's a 20% chance of rain today. Okay, that's come from a negative fixed mindset. How about there's an 80% chance of sunshine?
Right.
I mean, because both of those are truths in this moment, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm going to pick to look at it from the possibility of it raining versus the sun shining, I'm now falling into that same negative trap of focusing on what I don't want, of focusing on what's not good, rather than focusing on the beauty that is in front of me that was available in the same moment that I chose to focus on a 20% chance of rain.
Yeah. So what I'm getting from, there's a lot I'm getting from this. So one of the big things is choosing what you're focusing on, making that a priority of where am I going? What am I focusing on?
Got to start with the outcome. Yes. I mean, that's one of my acronyms here, WAYFO, WAYFO. What are you focused on? If you know the answer to the question, you know the appropriateness of the choice that you're about to make. And that will come from a growth mindset, not from a fixed mindset.
Yeah. I love that. So you said you had a few points you wanted to touch on. Have I totally sidetracked you at this point?
No. This
Okay.
has been beautiful. I mean, I love the openness of this because it really gives me an opportunity to be relevant. Because if you're asking a question, somebody else is asking that question too,
Yeah,
which
true.
means that we're right in their wheelhouse of relevance in the context of what they want to know and what they need to hear in the context of this. So I think it's been beautiful.
Awesome.
But here's one point that I want to make. Oh man, I'm going to make this point, and then I'm going to make the most important point that if they get that, we can just shut this thing off and go to the house because it's going to be the most important point. But this isn't it yet.
Okay.
You're in a fixed mindset, and you can think back to when you went through COVID, whoever you are, when you went through COVID. If you were in a fixed mindset, you were bitter at the end of that process. If you were in a growth mindset, you got better. So those are the two completely different results that are produced from a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. If you're in a fixed mindset, whenever that relationship ends, you're going to be bitter. If you're in a growth mindset, you're going to be better. So there's an opportunity in everything that we're doing to either be bitter or to get better because of what our mindset is and our ability to focus on what we want versus what we don't want. Does that make sense?
Beautiful. 100%. Yes.
Okay, so here comes that dime I wanted to drop.
Yeah.
If you really get this, baby, embrace this shit. I don't care who you are. Every win and every loss that you have or will ever experience in your life is occurring in your thinking before you ever take any actions at all. I mean, get your teeth in that for a second, Mickey.
Yeah.
Every win that I'm going to experience today, it occurred in my thinking before I ever took an action because my energy and my actions follow my thoughts.
Yes.
My thoughts are not following my energy and my actions. They are the producer of my energy and my actions. So check that conversation that you're having with yourself. Is it coming from a fixed mindset? Or if it's coming from a mindset, a growth mindset? Are you focused on the potential of failure? Or are you focused on the opportunity for success? I mean, because both of those things are available 86,400 seconds of every day.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's something that I've heard. It's simple and not easy.
I said that a million times in my lifetime. So it is simple, but it is not easy. It's not.
Okay, so repeat that again for everybody listening. Every win or loss you've ever had or you ever will have was experienced in your thoughts before it ever happened.
That's it. Smoking hot, girlfriend. That's exactly it. So if you can think about that now, before I said something rude, I said it in my head first to myself before I said it to you.
Right.
Before I said something sweet or nice or encouraging, before I caught you doing something right, I experienced that in my thinking before I took an action that said to you that I just caught you doing something right. I'm absolutely lifting you up and propping you up because you smoked that. You know, all of that's happening in my thinking. And think about now the energy of the person in each one of those moments. One of them is sucking the air and the energy out of an environment, and the other one is infusing that environment and that relationship with positive energy. One's lifting up, the other one's putting down. But you're at choice 86,400 seconds of every day, which one individuals you're choosing to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I've also heard something that I love. I was just telling my daughter the other day. I said, honey, where your attention goes, your energy flows, sister.
Absolutely.
So what are we paying attention to here? Because she was having an issue at school with somebody. And I feel like that's a little, it doesn't do what you said justice, but it's similar in meaning of what are we focused on? Where's our attention? Right. What are we doing here? And then because the attention, it takes me back to the thoughts. The thoughts are so powerful. And that's where Marsh had the issue of the thoughts being so powerful. And if your thoughts aren't there, you ain't going to get there. And he was like, oh, I'm going to get there. It doesn't matter what my thoughts say.
That's a high D personality for sure.
Yeah, I think I remember you calling him a high D too. Now that you say that, that's so funny.
Absolutely. But and you know, Mick, I have to say this. in the context of this conversation, when we're in a fixed mindset, we are risk averse. I mean, we don't take any risk. We believe that things are innate. They are as they should be or can be. We see people who accomplish really high level things as people who have that ability or that talent to do that. But I don't possess that. And I tell people all the time, and I've proven it many times over the 30 plus years I've been doing this, hard work outscore talent every day when talent doesn't work hard. So, I guarantee you, I will take a team of hardworking people and put them up against a talented group of people any day of the week, and we will smoke their butt.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I have a question for you. I know you have some things you want to touch on. This popped into my mind. Based off of something you just said, there are people listening that want to get to a certain level in their business, in their personal life, whatever. They can't seem to get there. And they do the things, all the things, and it's like they're spinning their wheels, and they start to have some success, and then back they come, and the ebb and flow of situations. I see that in a lot of business owners where they've got these great ideas. And it's like the thoughts there, they create the strategy of how to get there, and it died. What do you think about that? What would you tell somebody that's struggling with that?
Yeah. As soon as I can get my hands on somebody, Mickey, the one thing that I teach them is you got to take some small steps to get small wins. In order for me to change behavior, it's going to come as a result of me repetitiously doing things, the same thing over and over and over again. So it matters how I'm doing those things as well. I mean, you grew up and you heard it probably as many times as I did. Somebody said to you, practice makes perfect. They are exactly right. But you've got to expand your thinking around that awareness. If you practice like a chump, you're going to perfectly play like a chump at game time.
Right.
You practice like a champion, you're going to perfectly play like a champion at game time. So it matters how you're playing. So when I am working with people who really want to get to a next level, what I say to them is small steps, small wins. We need to repetitiously do these things over and over and over again, because through the process of neuroplasticity, it is possible for me to change my behavior by changing my habits. I can develop a new habit that's going to allow me to play differently than the way that I played in my rearview mirror. So the first thing that's got to happen is the rearview mirror's got to come down. Everything that I'm now focused on is in front of me, so I'm going to set an outcome. I'm running to gain. I'm no longer running from pain. So I'm running to what I want. I'm no longer running from what I don't want. So in the context of this, if I'm now taking small steps and getting small wins, I got to understand something. So I'm so glad you asked the question the way that you did. It's like the heart monitor. There's going to be ebbs and there's going to be flows. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. You're going to have some success failures. But if you play at this level, Mickey, hear me, girlfriend, if you play at this level, failure must be an option, because you are going to fall down if you play at this level.
Right.
But the true game changer knows that that is just the moment to articulate that I'm truly committed to my outcome.
Right.
Because you get up, you dust yourself off, you refocus, and you go for it again. But it's a part of the process if you're going to play at this level. Yeah. So if you fall down, Mickey, you got to be kind to yourself. And in being kind to yourself, you refocus, you get up, you dust yourself off, and you go for it again. That's what it's really all about.
That just gave me the chills. I love that. And I personally struggle with that, of giving myself grace and kindness, even though the failures, I'm good with it. I learn from it. It's an opportunity for me. Yet I find myself being hard on myself when they happen. And, we're our own worst critics, they say. And
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. I do.
Yeah.
Because we practice being our own worst critics, but then we look for a cheerleader outside of us to make us feel good about what we did. I'm my best cheerleader and my worst critic. I got all that shit handled right here. And if somebody else comes along and sees the good that I'm doing, that's a value add, but I didn't have to feel good about myself. That is something I've taught my children that has been so impactful in their lives.
I bet.
It's okay if somebody comes along and give you a high five. You know what? That was value add.
Right.
What I want you to know is that you got to see the good in you. You got to celebrate the good in you, whether anybody else does or not. Because if they do, great. If they don't, great. I mean, this is about you being a person that is a great caretaker of this holistically, both the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful and super powerful to train your kids up with that because most of us are not. And that's part of the tricky part too. You're saying so much is learned by age 4, yet this whole mindset thing, most of us, we never talked about it. I know for myself, I'm discovering it as a grown ass woman. So it's like, it's full discovery. Yet I wish I would have known so I could have taught my children. Hopefully now I'm teaching my children. They will get to teach their children. I get to teach my grandchildren. So that's interesting. And I have more questions, but I'm tempted to let you go on to the next thing because your things are so powerful that you've got here.
I don't know how much time we got left, but I have to say this out loud, though, Mickey, because I know that there's some people on here who have been through some shit. Everything, when you really get in a growth mindset, everything that has happened to you was also happening for you.
Yeah.
So I have to take the time to take the rear view mirror down and ask myself some really important questions. What was I meant to learn from that particular situation?
Yeah.
How can I improve as a person in my relationships based on what happened? But if I keep blaming other people for what happened, or I keep nurturing the pain that occurred, it's just going to keep manifesting more pain.
Right.
It's going to keep manifesting more hurt. As the more I nurture it and I fertilize it and I water it, I let the sun shine on it, it's just going to keep growing. It's never going to go away.
Right.
So, this is not a conversation. Let me be crystal clear. This is not a conversation about getting over stuff. That's not what I'm about. The awareness is, it is time to get on with it though. Because whatever happened, happened. And there's nothing that you're going to do to undo what happened.
Right.
So how can I reframe it to something that's going to benefit me moving forward rather than allow it to be some kind of a weight on my neck that just keeps dragging me down every time it comes back up again?
Yeah. Yeah. I am a firm believer in that. And I continue to choose when those things happen, that things are not happening to me, they are happening for me. And that is one of those things that with it, repetition.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my favorite word in all of language. Okay. I'm going to give it away. Nobody even has to pay for it. And if you embrace it, I promise you it's going to benefit you in everything that you're doing. My favorite, deliberate. So I deliberately got up at 4:30 this morning. I deliberately got in the gym and worked out. I mean, I deliberately read something positive as soon as I got out of bed this morning. If I'm on autopilot or in a fixed mindset, I get up, push the snooze button a couple of times. I'm in this negative space. I'm dreading getting up. I get up and I turn on the news, some more negative shit. Maybe I get the workout in if I feel like it. Maybe I won't. No, I'm deliberately doing these things because I know the benefit of doing it. I mean, I may not be in the greatest of energy every morning that I get up, but I'm deliberately pushing myself to where I want to go and to that outcome, which is now allowing me to overcome the inertia of anything negative and ultimately get myself out of it. Again, I love that oscillation thing that you were talking about, because that's the indication of a heart monitor when somebody is alive. When you're in a fixed mindset, it looks like this.
Yeah.
There is no oscillation in it. Everything's always the same. You already know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, who you're going to do it with, because you're in this fixed mindset and in this comfort zone. And that is boring. That's just waiting to die.
Right.
There's nothing special about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That word deliberate is so powerful, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it is everything to me, Mickey. I mean, everything to me. I mean, I deliberately, when I get up in the morning, sometimes I deliberately go in the kitchen and clean that kitchen, because when my wife walks in there, I want her to kind of go like, oh, I don't have to do this morning. I mean, it's great. I mean, I deliberately wash clothes. I mean, that's not in my DNA. I didn't grow up washing clothes and folding clothes, but I know that that's my partner. And I know that that's going to be a value add to her. And I know that she's going to appreciate the shit out of that. Yeah. So I do it because I know that there's a payoff and a reward for it, that she's going to feel good about the fact that this is her partner who's looking out for her and who has her back like that.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, yeah, and we are coming up to almost the top of the hour here, and we could probably talk for another 3 days.
I could go, girl. I love this shit. I could go. I could.
I love it too. I know. You'll have to come back on, because I've got all these other questions that I think would be great to talk about more. Is there anything that you want to end on, or we want to end on be deliberate?
I absolutely want to do these two things. Absolutely embrace that every win and every loss that you are going to experience today is going to come as a result of your thinking. The circumstance didn't create that win or that loss. People outside of you didn't create that. What's happened in your past didn't create that. Check your thinking right now. Every thought that you have occurring in your brain right now is going to create the next action or the reality that you're going to experience. Yeah. And I'm encouraging you to just be deliberate. Deliberately get out of that comfort zone. Deliberately get off of your map. Deliberately change your perspective. Deliberately go out there and catch people doing things right and stop looking for everything that's going wrong. And Mickey, I absolutely love and appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to be on your show. I mean, I've seen some of the episodes smoking hot. You're doing a great job. So thank you for allowing me to be on your show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody always says after they hear Mike Jones, they want to go run through a wall, and I'm fucking pumped. So I agree.
Let's go, girl. Let's get it.
Let's do it. Woo! Well, I appreciate you, Mike, for taking your time to come on the show. I know everybody listening is going to be impacted in one way, shape, or form. And I know they'll be challenged, which is the beauty of it, to constantly be challenging, right? Rather than flatline. Let's challenge it. Let's switch it up. So I'm with you, brother. I so appreciate you and everything that you're doing, your help in the industry. I know there are a lot of people struggling, and you are a positive light in the industry, and I'm super grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on your show, and thank you for allowing me to do it. I appreciate it.
Of course. Of course. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. This podcast is growing like wildfire, and having Mike on, another reason where we're going to break the internet, because everybody's going to want to listen. So again, make sure you're subscribed and you're following. And if you love this, share it. Get it out to other people. This message is not just to be held on for yourself. This is to share so we can all grow, so we can all be better as an industry and as people, right? So love you all, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.